It's green, baby. It's on. The NASCAR season is here. Will it start on time? We will talk about the clash at Bowman Gray, the changes at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and some fucky swaps with the owner's points. Yeah, spawn right here. That's here with 5 to go. And welcome to episode 349 of the 5 to go podcast right here on GoPRN.com. Apple and Spotify when I remember to hit send. I'll explain that in a moment. And YouTube. I'm your co-host, Doug Fireball Turnbull from the traffic team with Rachel Cox Rosen at 11 Alive News, WXIA TV here in Atlanta, and your Atlanta Journal-Constitution gridlock guy. Honored to be on with you and honored to be joined by my buddies. Okay? First off, this guy just turned 24 years old. All right? He's University of North Georgia alum. Not a graduate now. He's an alum. It's been enough months. All right. Roving Racing Journo. He's a super racing fanalist. Crunches all the numbers. Hashtag hire Devin Kupka, ladies and gentlemen. Dev, what you doing, buddy?
Just chilling down here in the basement today because we got the cleaning people over here who normally come earlier in the week, but due to the ice storm, it's pushing me downstairs today.
You know, this is how much money we make on the 5 to go podcast is that Dev has his own cleaning crew. They come to Devin's house in Cumming, Georgia, Dan Elliott, and just clean his room and leave. His parents, the kitchen, his brother Drew, nobody gets their stuff touched. It's just Devin's room that gets cleaned. It's crazy, man. Mad money. Hashtag sponsor us right here, okay? Hashtag hire Devin Kupka. No, Dev, good to have you on, bud. And I'm sorry the winter weather kind of put a spoil on your birthday there, but I hope you got to celebrate properly or have some celebrations on deck.
Yeah, I got to celebrate with the family on Sunday. Didn't really get to spend any time with some friends, so we'll get to see some of them this weekend, hopefully pending winter weather, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, that's true. There's another taste of old man winter coming to Northeast Georgia and affecting, I'm sure, something from this weekend's festivities of the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium, if not just ticket sales, will be affected by what's on deck. A lot of snow for the Carolinas and potentially here in Georgia. Winter storm watch as we record this has extended even into metro Atlanta. Now, this man did have the winter weather show up in Dawson County. I think at least a little bit this weekend anyway. He is 2018 Georgia Racing Hall of Fame inductee. Championship-winning mechanic, 1988 Cup Series. He makes those gears spin the right way, not the wrong way, the right way, in his Dawsonville garage. Dano, Elliott, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. And Devin and I, even though we don't have anything in common, we do have something in common because I am NGC alum. I'm so old, I'm alum, and you are UNG alum. So it is, we are brothers from another mother, and we do have history together now. But, you know, I was North Georgia College, which is now University of North Georgia. So same college, and my family graduated from there, and me and Ernie graduated from there. So a lot of history there, and I love that little town up there. It's just a neat little town. So I hope your room wasn't like looking at the party they had at Animal House when we saw that. I hope you
there were red Solo like cups everywhere after that 24th birthday celebration.
Yep.
Okay,
cigarettes.
The whole UNG softball team came just to Devin's room. Respond.
That would have been a party we needed to have been out and broadcast from.
I'm telling you, man. Come on, we could have done a live 5 to go.
There are secrets made and told there that we needed to know.
It'd be very underhanded of us if we had done that. So,
home opener next Saturday.
Home opener. There we go. Hey, Dev, are you going to be doing some more freelance or fill-in work with the UNG media team?
Not at the moment. I'm currently in contact with some people with a local high school around here.
Hey,
doing some freelance stuff with them, but nothing at the moment. But we'll see.
Hey, well, I hope so, man. I hope so. So, y'all, you need to get Dev on your team. All right? Need to get Dev on your team. He's done such great work for us. If you want to see some samples of that, and you got to scroll past my BS, okay? Scroll, look what Devin's with the graphics and different videos he's posted on our 5 to go podcast Facebook page there and on his Instagram page, devin.kupka, Kupka.
And check out my LinkedIn.
You know, even better. Find Devin Kupka, Devin, Kupka. That's 2 names. On LinkedIn. All right, go find him on LinkedIn and hit him up there. He'd be happy to start a conversation. All right, today we had another Bianchi bomb drop of the offseason here. Jordan Bianchi is the one that really digs into those sources and probably ticks them off a little bit by spilling the beans. I'm sure that Speedway Motorsport, Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I've talked to none of my PRN companions about this at all, so I don't have any inside knowledge, but I'm sure they were a little hot under the collar that this news came out. But I don't know. I want to ask who finds it surprising or not, and that is, reports are, though unannounced, that the ROVAL is moving off of the road course and is becoming the NOVAL, back on the oval at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the October race coming up. And that'll be, of course, late in the what's now called the chase. I got to not call it the playoffs. Late in the chase. And it just seems to be what's old is new again. Dan Elliott, your instant reaction when you saw the news come out Monday?
You know, I'm kind of like you. Do I believe this or don't believe this? I've heard enough and read enough. I think it is real. But I like the fact that we ran the ROVAL. I like the road courses. I've told you all along that I do like the road courses, and no, I don't want to replace every oval with a road course. No, but I do like the mix that you get because, as I said, it's a deal where a driver running the road course has to think, because you got to turn left and right at the correct time, and you got to shift at the correct time. So it makes you think. And I just like the added drama that you get from the road courses, even though some of them, like the oval, some of them are good, some of them not so good. But it ends up being, at the end of the day, it's a good mix. I enjoy that, and I like it better than the fact that we're going to run two races, same track, Charlotte. It'll be like, instead of the Charlotte 500 or 600, it'll be the Charlotte 1100.
Well, two trophies though.
Or maybe it's
Two
the Charlotte
trophies,
1000.
but you've got so many segments. It's like now it's almost as if everybody gets a participation trophy.
Yeah, people don't go around bragging about stage wins. And by the way, stage wins now don't have it. They have stage points that go to your season total, but you don't have that whole confusing playoff point thing anymore. And the only trophy I know of, y'all remember this, that got handed out for a stage win is Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now Echo Park Speedway did that when somebody won stage 1 and 2 of the March or February 2017 race.
Wow.
They came up to their pit box and brought them a little trophy, and I think the backlash was enough there that they didn't go along with that. But okay,
if you were a collector, that would be one of the 2 things or 3 things that you'd want to have in your collection, because it's a one-off.
It's a one-off, even though nobody likes it and hardly anyone remembers it. That is a true one-off, okay? It's like going out and buying a 2006 Brent Sherman rookie gear for the number 49 BAM car in the Cup Series. It's like almost that rare, okay? I should go find some of that. Or Kevin Conway Extends merch. That's what I need, is a big Extends shirt. Devin doesn't know what I'm talking about. So you're too young anyway. Hey, Dev, reactions, ROVAL.
I think it's interesting because I looked at it through a business standpoint, where with the ROVAL, it made the 600 a much more prestigious event, and especially with the current gen car, the racing was really good at the oval for the 600, made it more of a prestigious event because it's the only oval race at Charlotte every given year. So the race ticket sales, last couple of years, they've sold out that race. Now there's 2 of those races. Good racing. Fans wanted the oval to come back. Road course racing under the next gen car just hasn't been all that great that we've seen. So that's pretty much taken a hit, because I've been to a majority of the ROVAL races, and anything prior to 2022 was a decent race. There's always something that came out of it that, bam, Chase Elliott or something like that, or Ryan Blaney, moments like that. We really haven't got that many of them since 2022, which is when the next gen car came in. But yeah, I think it was an interesting move for them to make. I didn't think it was a move that SMI was going to make anytime soon, because it seemed like they were pretty committed with the ROVAL. It helped elevate the 600, as I mentioned before. So interesting that they did decide to do it now. Thought it might be a move down the line. And also another thing, too, remember the ROVAL was originally going to try to be around 500 miles. They knocked that down to 400 miles before they had the inaugural running in 2018. I don't expect the second Charlotte Oval race to go back to 500 miles. It was the Bank of America 500. I think it'll be the Bank of America 400. Look at the current slate. I posed this question to y'all. How many races on mile-and-a-half tracks that we have are 500 miles? There are 0. We have one 600-mile race, but 0 500.
That's right. Yeah, I think Texas was maybe one of the last ones before they filed that down. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. Remember the first Echo Park Speedway races under the Super Speedway one? I think the first one of those was 500 miles.
Yep.
And then it was like, just don't need 500 miles, man. It takes a long time.
Can you imagine running the ROVAL for 500 miles? That would be the equivalent of a Charlotte 600 1,200 in one race.
1,200. I don't know.
1,200, yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well, was it going to be 500 miles or 500 kilometers? I think they were just going to
be
call
one of the two, but they wanted to keep the 500.
I would say it was going to be kilometers, which would be what, 312
it was going to be kilometers.
Miles.
Yeah, it would have taken a long stinking time to do that. Yeah.
You better have brought your pillow and lots of snacks with you because you're going to need them.
Let's reflect. Go ahead.
But even though, honestly, the ROVAL race, so that was 400. That was around 110 laps, I want to say. Even then, those races really weren't all that long, especially the last couple of years. They really haven't been because those were 2.5 to 3-ish hour races. They would start at 2:30 and they'd be done before 6.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Let me pull up just this past year's just to give us a little point of reference here. Let's see if they had the length of race on. So it was 109 laps, and I don't think it was overtime or anything like that. It was 109 laps. I was looking to see if it had the length of race. It does on the official NASCAR rundown, but this is race. Oh yeah, time of race just over 3 hours. 3 hours 3 minutes. Won by Shane Van Gisbergen, who straight dominated him. Kyle Larson was keeping it honest at the end there. Let's reflect on what we've seen on the Charlotte road course. All right. So there were 8 cup races there. Who's the only driver that won multiple of those?
Chase Elliott, I think.
Chase Elliott. That's correct. He won the second and the third. Oh no, sorry. Kyle Larson won
it. I
20.
didn't go to. Chase Elliott ones.
And Kyle Larson won them in 2021 and in 2024. I forgot about winning it the year before last there. So Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, the only 2-time winners. Allmendinger had that kind of stunning win. Christopher Bell came out of nowhere to win his. And the one that maybe was the most surprising, 2018, this really was emblematic of the downfall of Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson, if he had stayed in second place riding behind Martin Truex Jr. going into the final S's in the first race on the last lap on that ROVAL, Jimmy Johnson would have advanced in the playoffs, and instead he sailed the car in there, whistled it in there, spun him and Truex out, and Ryan Blaney surprised everyone and won that race from third place and won that first one. And I remember he came to the PRN studios after that, and I think still just kind of bewildered. He was sitting there drinking a Miller Lite when they were still a Penske sponsor and doing his segment on Fast Talk with Doug Rice of the crew, and that was pretty cool to be in the room, to be on the call, and then to be in the room afterwards, too. So
I might have to say that might have been one of the best races I've ever been to, was the inaugural ROVAL race in 2018.
Yeah, for sure. The first ROVAL, so before we went to you could draw a line in terms of number of cautions, and a number of cautions doesn't make a great race. I'm not saying it does. But it does add to it slows things down, it gives you a chance for a break, and it usually means there's been some conflict. So Gen 7 car came out 2022. So races 2018 through 2021, number of cautions, 8, 10, 9, and 9. Okay, so an average of about 9 or so. Gen 7 car, first year, 2022, 4 cautions, 4, 7, 5, and then last year, gosh, I forgot, there was only 1 caution not related to a stage. 3 cautions for a total of 10 laps in that 2025 race. That's pretty wild to see the difference there. And I think that's the biggest rub on the next gen car, Devin.
And also attendance at that race too was always pretty stagnant, even in 2018, and it never really, I don't think, got ever to the level that SMI thought it could get at. Road courses historically don't perform as well in terms of those numbers, but yeah. But to your point though, with the next gen car, I mentioned earlier all the memorable moments were 2021 and beforehand, and other times it just wasn't. And another thing too, I feel like the drivers figured that track out. If you go back to 2018, they had numerous practice sessions for both the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and the Cup Series race that weekend, dating like days before the race happened.
Yeah.
Back when they used to have a lot of practice, but drivers were wrecking in practice. It was a sight to behold to see what was going on at the ROVAL, and you just didn't get that in the latter years. And I think a lot of that is because the drivers figured out the course, and it just became kind of another road course, and the novelty wore off after a while.
Gosh, I'm looking at the pole speed. So I'm looking at the number of seconds. 2018 versus 2025. All right. This is to Devin's point. You ready? Now they changed the course.
Yes.
They changed the course from 2023 to 24. But okay, so let's go from 2018 to 2023. Look at this. 106. Now the cars changed as well. Went to the next gen car, which is better on road courses. 2018 pole speed, 106.8 seconds. So a minute and whatever, a minute and 46 seconds, or speed of 82 miles per hour. All right, is that right? Hold on, that seems okay. The next year, it's listed anyway as 3 seconds faster. And then the last 2 years of the Gen 6 car, they had qualifying washed out. 2022, the Gen 7 car comes, and the pole speed is actually a little bit slower than 2019, 103.4 seconds. But then 2023, 102.8. And then they changed the course to make it a little bit shorter there. And 99 seconds was the pole speed. Kyle Larson, 2024, 95 seconds. So 4 seconds almost faster for Shane Van Gisbergen in the pole from 2024 to 2025. Now, I know there's other factors. There's changes in horsepower, tires. But that shows that these teams adapt. And by the way, the lowest a pole sitter, or rather a winner of the race, started in this event, Dan, was 19th for Chase back in 2019. They generally all started in the top 10 except for that year. So, Dan, it shows they're very adaptable, but generally the fastest cars make it to the top. And unless you have a big calamity, that's where you're going to be.
Yeah, but it also shows you how much better the Gen 7 car is with the tires, with the brakes, with the packages that they've done with them, because most of the time that I've seen at the racetrack is a lot of times you take away horsepower and your speeds increase because the horsepower upsets the car so much, especially on a short track or a road course. Now, the super speedways are not that way, but as you shorten up the distance in there and tighten the track up, then the more difficult it gets to get around, and you add horsepower to that, it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. What's interesting too, guys, and so the number of miles, we were talking about that, it was 249 miles the first 4 years. Then I guess they had some overtime stuff in 2022 is 255. And then the length the last 2 years that the race was run within the normal number of laps was 253 miles. So the race got 4 miles longer from the first configuration to the second configuration, but it was under 300 miles for sure. And yeah, it would have taken a long time. I'm still getting confused about these pole speeds and the length of the track, right? So the length of the track was 2.28 miles up until they redid the course in 2024, and then it was 2.3 miles. So the track got longer, but the times continued to go down.
Wow.
I'm confused about that. That's bewildering to me. I can't think that the cars got that much faster, because the part that got different was in a very slow part.
It depends on the configuration as to whether there was, whether they added more straight parts than they did add more corner
I know what it is.
speed.
I know what it is. Yeah, go ahead, Devin. You got this is the part of the track
forget
I
what turn
call,
it's
so
called,
I'm
but it's the
slow.
one getting back onto the track, the first one. That's a
Yep.
much tighter corner. I wonder if the exit speed, not the exit speed, but it's much easier to get back on the track than it was under the previous configuration.
Well, what I was thinking, because they added length to the track, so it used to be S's, and then they curved it out. They curved that S and then made a big sharp turn, so that added length to it, but it didn't
It
take
added
away
speed.
time. Basically,
It added length. It
added
added
speed.
speed.
It added length and added speed, so that the
Yep.
speed outdid the length, so to
There you
speak.
go.
So to speak. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Which, by the way, is the subtitle of my autobiography. To respond right here. Okay. Now Xfinity's race are now what's called the Nopes series, the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts series. Nopes.
What about the no apps?
The No Apps. Yeah, SciApps car and the No Apps series. Yeah, we're bricking our phones here. In the Nopes series, who won the inaugural? Who remembers who won the inaugural Nopes ROVAL? This is a breakout win for this driver. It set them up.
Chase Briscoe?
Chase Brisket, baby. Yeah, Chase Briscoe and the number 98 Stuart Haas Ford. Very good, Devin. And then who won the next four?
Allmendinger won in 20, right?
Well, that means who won the next four after 2018?
Oh, AJ Allmendinger. Okay.
Los
I forgot
Gatos,
he won on that
California.
run.
Los Gatos. AJ Allmendinger won the next four of those. Sam Mayer won the next two, including that epic heartbreaker for Parker Kligerman. And then Connor Zilic won this past October. And finally, there was only one Craftsman Truck Series race on the ROVAL. There was one driver that dominated back in the fall and another that won. Please give me both. Who
Corey Heim
dominated that daggum truck race?
Corey Heim probably dominated it, but lost. Or did he win?
He won.
Okay.
Corey Heim won the only truck race. He will go down in history. Of course, they could change it year to year, but he will go down in history, at least for now, as the only truck winner. And his Toyota fraternity brother, if you will, Brent Cruz, shellacked him in that race. Shellacked them. But they had a green-white checker and yada, yada. Or a late caution, and Brent Cruz lost it. So there you go. There's your ROVAL rundowns there. Rest in peace to the ROVAL. I guess that kisses goodbye any IMSA, double competition thing. They had that a few years back. And other things reflecting on the ROVAL. All right. 2020. O'Reilly Auto Parts race, won by Allmendinger, I'm sure, will go down as the most waterlogged, probably shouldn't have run, dark and wet NASCAR race in history. And it is the reason.
An awesome race.
I enjoyed it, but it was a shit
Toad
show.
soaker.
It was tough. That was a
Hey,
tough
but it
one to
shows
watch.
innovation. Like just like the few months later when they went to Austin, Texas for the inaugural COTA weekend. It was raining all weekend there too, and then you had whatever happened in the Cup race, and Chase Elliott was named winner, and that was before they added, I think, the bumper lights. But I wish they raced in the rain more often. But
I think they had the bumper lights then, but that was the race. That 2021 COTA race where Chase basically inherited the lead by not pitting. And by the way, I think that was Chase's last road course win. So I'm pretty sure that was Chase's.
Road America that year?
But I think that was the only race he won that year, wasn't it?
In 21?
In 2021, didn't he just win the one race? I think he did.
No, he won a couple that year.
All right, well, I'll look that up. But
He won
that
Road
COTA
America
race
that year too. Another road course we don't race at anymore.
Yeah, I know. That's a good point. Let me look up Chase, because I know Chase did win Road America. I guess that might have been that. Okay, well, excuse me if I got that wrong. I guess that year I was thinking he didn't win any oval races. That's what it was. And then he had a bit of a slump. So let's see. Let's look at his wins. 2021, he did win twice. I think you got that right. Yeah. He did win Elkhart Lake Road. Yeah, he won both of them that year. Excuse me. And he won. Yeah, there you go. So that COTA race 2021, Dan, talking about the damp and all that stuff, that's where Cole Custer got railroaded by Martin Truex Jr. That's the order, right? It was Custer that got driven up under in the 41 car
No,
by
I think he
Truex.
drove into him.
Oh, did
I
Custer
think.
drive into Truex? They
I
couldn't
think.
see each other down there entering the stadium section off of that long back straightaway, and that's where NASCAR had to flag that race and then eventually just go ahead and call Chase the winner. They just couldn't see, and basically their rule is now just because they have rain tires, it's more like they're wet tires, not rain tires. They were even called on the Goodyear press release wet tires. The Roval, I think the only time they really dealt with the wet though was in 2020. I think there may be some threats of it, but that really they ran in the dry the whole time
so.
after it.
I think it was
We
only
were excited
2020.
about that Cup race in 2020 because it was terrible weather forecast. I went to Bass Pro Shops. I got soaked the day before. I bought and I wore them in the winter weather here this past weekend. My knee-high, redneck camo boots, Bass Pro Shops, waterproof, and didn't end up needing them that day, even though I wore them the whole time. So anyway, rest in peace, we think, anyway, to the Roval. I am partial because I've gotten to do all of those. I only missed one. I've gotten to do all those for PRN, and it probably means they don't need an extra turn announcer or 2 or 3 for the race in the fall. I mean, so that's something I like, having as many races as possible, and that's one thing road courses provide, is more race opportunities for us radio guys. So I am partial to it. The one thing I'll say about it, so Dev, you made a point that once the Gen 7 came, those races got less exciting. The number of cautions in those races certainly tells that story. The number, does it have lead changes? Lead changes in those races, interestingly, kind of went up. The first few years of the Gen 7 car, there was only 3 years they had double-digit lead changes: 2020, 2023, and 2024. So we've seen, but lead changes could be fluky depending on pit sequences. But here's one thing that I think made that race more exciting was the previous playoff format. That was always an elimination race. I mentioned Jimmy Johnson before, just wiping him out in the S's there with Martin Truex Jr., and we've just saw so much of that. Some of the hijinks, too. Chase Briscoe and Cole Custer. Remember that? Where Briscoe advanced to the playoffs a couple years ago, and Custer you could play defense on there and hold up the line. Alex Bowman was accused of that, trying to help Ross Chastain maybe, or something like that in this past Roval iteration, too. It was because the Roval race had that element that made it more exciting. And by the way, I totally read the lead changes wrong. Those were for the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, so excuse me. In the Gen 7 era, there were markedly less lead changes than in the 4 years prior to the Gen 7 era. So excuse me, I misspoke. All but 2 of the Roval races in Cup Series have had double-digit lead changes, but the 2 that did not were 2023 and 2024. Okay, so there you go. Anyway, rest in peace, Roval.
Going to the chase format pretty much solidified getting rid of the Roval for SMI.
That's what I'm thinking, is that this race, the main centerpiece was, like you said, that elimination. You're wondering if so-and-so can make it back to 18th place. There are a couple other highlights or memories, and this is just off the top of my head. I didn't write these down beforehand. Chase Elliott's 2020 win, I think it was the one where he smoked turn 1.
No, 2021.
That was that 21? Was that I thought he won that race.
Yeah, and then he got back with Harvick, right?
No, this is the race that he
that
beat.
Was 19,
no,
2019.
He smoked the wall, like missed turn 1. Okay?
I think it was 2019, I think.
That was 2019? Okay.
I think.
Well, there was the one where he won 2 years in a row, 19 and 20, and one of those, he just missed turn 1. With nose into the wall. Nick Yeoman had that call on PRN. We used that in our highlight reels for a long time. And he came back for the back and won. Then there was 2021. Now tell us what happened. Now, I got to call part of that wreck in front of me there, Dev. What happened to 2021 where you're talking about him versus Harvick?
Harvick got into Elliott getting back onto the main track on the front stretch, going into what would be oval turn 2. They got into it. I think Harvick passed him. And then Harvick would end up at the next caution, I think. He would miss the first turn and slam head on into the wall in turn 1.
Correct. 2021. So here's the history of that. All right. Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick are at Bristol. All right. They make contact. 2021 Bristol August race. They make contact. Chase Elliott cuts a tire, comes out a lap down. Harvick had not won a race that whole year. Elliott pulls up in front of him as a lap car, slows him down, and Kyle Larson drives around Harvick and wins the fall race. Afterwards, Harvick confronts an already angry Chase Elliott. They have words. There's no fighting or anything like that. Chase ain't really one to scrap like that. But they definitely were yelling at each other and, gesturing and whatnot. Jordan Bianchi got right close with his phone and got told off by Harvick. And then Chase and Kevin went back in the trailer. Then they come to the Roval. And Harvick's got payback on his mind. And he cleans Chase out at turn 7 or 8. I guess you'd call it 8, entering the NASCAR Oval. All right. Chase actually swipes down and tries to take Harvick out when he's recovering the car and doesn't. But then, very, very soon after in the race, as you mentioned, Harvick drives right out of the playoffs. And what was the quote after the race that became the T-shirt?
Oh, have a happy off season and a merry something else.
It was Merry Off Season and Happy Christmas.
Oh.
It's what Chase said about Kevin Harvick, and
Was
it went
that
on
the
the
last
shirt.
time in the Cup Series that we've had such a heated moment? I feel like we haven't had a heated moment like that in the Cup Series since then.
No, we have 2023. I think it was when Gregson tried to punch Chastain and Chastain clocked him.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the
that
other one but that was more of a one race thing. Like that was it. That it happened at Kansas, and it just happened that weekend, and that was it.
yeah,
This
I mean,
was building over.
but I mean, there was a
couple of
punch
races.
thrown. I mean, there've been a few moments since then. We'd have
In
to
the
think
Cup
harder
Series,
on that.
not the lower series.
We'd have to think harder on that. I think that's a pretty big one for sure. I mean, yeah, you don't see a lot of it, but not anymore. I miss that. And, another Roval highlight too. We talked about that 2020 race won by Allmendinger on the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. One thing I remember the most from that race is so drivers were just missing corners. They couldn't see. They were spinning out left and right. Noah Gragson drove from the back to the front in that Roval race in the Xfinity Series, O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, like 4 or 5 times. He just kept driving up. And I thought that was just impressive to watch. And it showed to me a lot what his talent is, and he hasn't really gotten to show that talent. Another thing I appreciate about the Roval, I'm going to keep going here, all right? So I know we got a couple other things to mention here. We're not going to go deep on too much else today. Another thing I mentioned about the Roval, though, is Christian Espinoza, big race fan, owns a condo, one of those suites up over Oval Turn 1, and is also a big Noah Gragson fan. And Gregson's gone up there and partied with them before during the Cup race when he wasn't in the Cup Series. But I'm always taking pictures of them and swapping pictures out and stuff like that because I'm calling it from the Ford grandstand, and I always appreciate that moment with the people in his suite getting to call that on PRN. So I also appreciate races I get to be in the stands with the fans. So I love the Roval, and I'd be okay if it stayed, but I understand why it's not. And it probably, just with what's old is new again, I still haven't watched the Hell Yeah commercials yet. They've got that whole Hell Yeah campaign. I've heard all about them. I, for some reason, have not watched them, but they're going
I'll
back
say
in
this.
time.
They're the one inaccurate thing. I know it's sponsor driven, but nobody's drinking Busch Light at a bar unless you're in Johnny B's in Dahlonega. But that's because it's on draft and it's cheap. But
Well, okay, then somebody is. So then somebody is. Hey,
the
Dan,
average person isn't. Let me put it that way. And
Dan,
I'm
I
not
want
the
you-
average person.
I want to ask you about this. By the way, we still need to talk about just a couple of other things. The Clash this weekend, and then I want to talk about the Ram Race for the Seat series because I've watched the first 2 episodes of that on YouTube. All right, it's pretty good. All right, so, I mean, it's okay. It's pretty good. I want to see if any of y'all have done that and tell you what I've seen. Dan, is NASCAR making the right move here? And I've heard other commentators, Kenny Wallace has asked his different guests this. Is NASCAR making the right move just saying, to hell with it, what's old is new again? Because that seems like they've tinkered with all this stuff and tried to go for the casual fan, the younger fan, and the average viewing age of this sport is super high. And it seems like they've just gone, hell. and just gone backwards. Not backwards in a bad way, but I mean backwards in time. Is this the move since nothing else has worked, or what do you think?
I think we're just trying to hit a moving target here that really, I don't think anyone really has a finger on the pulse of what's making things work or not. And I think that we're in an era a lot like the Michael Jordan, because I don't know many people expected the outcome to be what that was going to be, and where this is going to go either. Because as I told you earlier, I don't think anyone realizes what exactly did take place in that, and what repercussions or what changes. Repercussions is probably not the right word, but what changes are going to occur out of this that no one foresaw coming. And I think that we're in an era also, is me and my daughter has talked about this, where as we came through, as me and my brothers came through NASCAR, it was a period then that we noticed that was before us and a little bit after us, is the fact that you could for the most part have a private life and still do really well in promoting yourself, and it's not like today with the streaming and the media and everything that NASCAR is projecting now. You cannot, if you're an up and coming driver, and if you're one of the youngest up and coming drivers, your life is going to be put out to the public. It's not going to be like it was when we came through. It can be, but you're not going to be as successful, I don't believe, unless you put it out there. It's like we're in I tell people all the time, it's like it's a kinder and gentler NASCAR. It's a time when the men didn't show their feelings, and I'm seeing a different time now. That's me. I see a different time where you're going to have to get out there, and whether you're telling the truth or whether you're not, you're going to have to put something out there to get the public, and it's going to be up to the public whether they like you or whether they don't. You've either got that gift or you don't. You have it or you don't. And it's one of those things where we don't know yet how this is going to. We see it starting, we see all the changes, but we don't have any idea what direction this is going to go in.
And you're referring to the lawsuit results as the Michael Jordan deal, and the results of that is which way it's going. And I'm wondering too if the results of that suit and everything and the things surrounding it, from Steve Phelps all the way to the competition changes, how much of that impacted by the lawsuit? We could say Phelps almost for sure because of the text that came out, but was some of this stuff already on deck? It sounds like the chase was on deck and they waited to announce it, but what about the ROVAL or some of the other initiatives? I think a lot of them were in motion beforehand. Hey, Devin, so here you are. So Dan, and look, I'm not blowing y'all up. I can't wait to be 75. I loved when I was 24. And I love being 40 now. That's what we are on 5 to Go. That's what our promo says on PRN. That's why I haven't changed it. We are representing 3 different generations here. Yep. I am from the Chase era, where it came out when I was 18 years old. And I was fine with it. I thought it was great. And I heard a ton from Captain Herb, my mentor, people pissed off. No more Winston Cup points. And I was okay with the new playoffs, too. I understand what was wrong with them, though. So, Dev, I have seen it, being a certain number of years old, about 16 years older than you, going after the new fan when I was kind of the new fan age. You are the new fan age. 25-54 is that key advertising demo. You're 24, and 18 to 24 is the one that really shot up with Formula One. Are they making moves that are off-putting to Generation Z, Devin?
I'm not sure. That's a tough question to answer.
It proves Dan's point that nobody knows.
I was thinking about this when Dan was talking, and there's young people that go to the track, right? There's plenty of them. I know some of them that are in the grandstands that'll go to Daytona or Echo Park Speedway. But I think not necessarily for some of them, but some of them that might be with friends or whatnot, and they like NASCAR. But it's getting them to watch week to week, which I think is the challenging part for NASCAR, is to get these young viewers through television means. But we see it with, I feel like we see it with Prime a little bit, but I think it's getting the viewers to watch, or the young people attending these races. Look at Talladega. I would say probably out of any of the races throughout the 36 race calendar year, Talladega, especially the spring one, is probably attended the most by college students, I would say, because it's just the culture that's there that weekend and that spring Talladega weekend. But it's getting them to watch week to week, I think, is the problem. And and one thing for NASCAR, I feel like it's very hard for them to get fans that exclusively only watch on television and that have never been to a race before. I think it's very tough to, hey, sit and watch NASCAR week to week only on television.
I saw it in circles on a bar TV. Man, how exciting. Yeah, and that's not what attracted people before. Yeah, Dan.
This is primarily aimed at, I'm not trying to keep you out of it, but Devin, it seems to me like they're trying to figure out, not only they've got to engage the younger generation, and you got to find a way to relate to that generation. And that's what I was saying a few minutes ago. It wasn't necessarily directed at the lawsuit. It's the fact that as Devin goes on with his future, I see that to do what he needs to do in life, he's going to have to put his life out there and tell more personal aspects so that you can have something in common with these people. And that's what I see about the younger drivers, is they're willing to put more of their personal life out there so that you, the fan, can engage and relate with you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to say this. People my age, people that don't watch NASCAR or don't even go to races, that don't watch the sport at all, I feel like a lot of them think about Talladega Nights. We see if you were to throw a NASCAR themed Halloween party, how many of them are going to dress up of people from Talladega Nights? I think that's one thing that doesn't help either, is that, yes, that portion of the fan base is definitely present in NASCAR, and they're definitely there every single race weekend.
Yep.
But in that movie, it's blown way out of proportion than what reality is.
Sure.
Yes, they exist, but they're not the overarching.
It does not
representation
represent
of
the
fan base. I
demographic.
think that doesn't help NASCAR.
It does not represent the demographic that you are. And I think there's the problem where the movie, just like the movie F1, I saw that the other night, and that movie does well to relate to the fan. I think a lot of the personal and professional aspects of racing life.
And what's the key difference is Talladega Nights is a comedy caricature. F1 is supposed to be a dramatic interpretation.
I'm that's another thing too. I know some women that like F1.
Yeah.
That don't watch NASCAR, but some of them, guess what the drivers are? And it's not like this in NASCAR with the current Cup Series drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But the top level F1 drivers, guess what they are? Celebrities.
Thirst traps.
That too. But I think about it with the NASCAR Cup Series drivers. Yeah, Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney, they're the top drivers in NASCAR.
No, it's because NASCAR is
celebrity
niche.
Status in a way.
It's because NASCAR is niche. That's why. Niche.
Yep.
I say niche, but I guess it's niche. I don't know. It's because NASCAR is niche. That's all it is. That's all it is.
And
if NASCAR, Casey Kane was more popular in the United States in 2006 than Charles Leclerc is now. He was. NASCAR was not niche back then. That was the peak of the mountain. And there's still talk right now. What's it going to take? And I'm telling you, F1 is not as popular in the U.S. as NASCAR was in 2006. The landscape has changed. It is more culturally popular now. There are still more dedicated fans watching NASCAR races in the U.S. than there are F1 fans. It's just a lot of them. And I think that's what NASCAR looked at. Who we say it every week on this show. This is episode 349. I've said it almost every week, I feel like. The biggest sponsor in NASCAR is television.
Yep.
Not a certain brand, okay? It's television. The biggest sponsor in NASCAR. Everything, the charter agreement, the loss, all this stuff, television money. And that's what I think you're chasing right here. As you all say this to me, this is just what comes to my mind. You know, I didn't write this beforehand. This is what came to my mind in our organic, unplanned discussion we're having right now. Television. And who's sitting at home and watching? It's generally people that are going to root for the hell yeah commercials. Pardon my French. That's what they're called. I wish they weren't called that. Okay, the hell yeah commercials. What's coming out February 12th? What's coming out February 12th? Y'all see this?
Dale Earnhardt documentary.
NASCAR and Fox. Now, Dale Earnhardt is my favorite driver of all time. He is the most intriguing. Just the mystique around him, the man in black, all that stuff. 25-year anniversary of his death. Of course, there was going to be a special about it. There was just a Dale Earnhardt documentary less than a year ago on Prime, and it was excellent, a miniseries. It was the best one I've ever seen. I thought the Dale documentary that was made around the 5-year anniversary of the passing of Earnhardt, 2006, was incredible. And there have been other specials since then. But we got to have another one. You know why? Because the Hell Yeah campaign. Because the people at home watching are not Devin's age. They're somewhere. They're around Dan's age. That means just the truth. Right. I'm not dogging. That's just the truth, right? Am I on this? I mean, are we speaking the same language?
I will say here? Dale Earnhardt Sr. is a cultural icon.
Yeah.
That's another reason why he gets all these documentaries.
Yeah,
too.
And died in a spectacular way. He didn't. I mean. If we're only relying on natural causes, he'd probably still be with us now. He was born in 1951, so that he'd be turning 75 this year, right? Dale Earnhardt, it was a cultural icon who died in an epic way in the sport's biggest race and one of the biggest audiences it's ever had. So that's part of it too. But it's like where we keep going with it, and part of me is frustrated a little bit. Like, gosh, man, how many times are we going to talk about the same story, the 1998 Daytona 500, and even the 92 Hooters 500, which is the most epic storyline really of all time in this sport. How many times we get that there? What about the closest finish in NASCAR history happened a year ago? Nah, it was an overtime finish. So, it's like I want us to appreciate the recent history we have too, and that's part of the reason the ROVAL will not go down as this epic thing that's happened in the history of this sport. It wasn't around long enough. But that's why I wanted to remember it properly here, because we are consumers of history. It's happening in front of us, and I feel like we're forgetting about it, just kind of crapping it out. So sorry for the image there. All right, so now last thing I really wanted to hit on this show, I was going to go, but we're already close to an hour. I was already going to, I was going to talk about the different owners' points transfers and things, which I find really interesting. I want to put it this way. Go to jski.com. I'll put the link up. I'm going to put the link up in our 5 to Go podcast Facebook page. But there's so many different numbers and teams. The O'Reilly Auto Parts series alone, gosh, it has, all these different teams swapping numbers and points. I don't know. Jesse Love doesn't seem to have owner's points going into Daytona. There's a new Barrett Cope racing team. There's Hettinger Racing. There's the Peterson Racing Group. There's SPS, which used to be AM Racing. There's other team. Viking Motorsports is adding a team. Young's Motorsports. And then in the truck series, it's all over the place because a lot of the Spire teams are not around, but yet Colleague Racing's coming in and running 5 trucks. But go check that out. The 41 truck of Nice is now the number 4, but all this stuff. A couple of other things to add to, and then we're going to end on the Clash, all right? In the truck series, we found out Carson Hocevar is running Daytona. There's somebody else, God, it just escaped my mind. Hocevar was announced to run Daytona. There was another Cup driver. John Hunter Nemechek is going to run for Halmar Friesen Racing, which is apparently adding a third truck, at least part-time as well. So we had those announced, and then of course, I'm forgetting the major one. And Corey Heim, Georgia driver, Marietta, Georgia's Corey Heim, whom we still don't know the plans for this season. Corey Heim attempting the 500, car number 67 with Team 2311 in the Cup Series, Daytona 500. I've seen that Joe Gibbs Racing has a new number listed as far as owners, number 11. So they've had all sorts of different numbers over the time, and I mean, I think the 19, the 20, and the 18 are all claimed, right? Sawalich, Brandon Jones, 19, and I think Brent Cruz is number 20. Wait, no, Brandon Jones is number 20. The 19's been the all-star car. Brent Cruz is in a number, and then there's the 18 of Sawalich. So I guess, yeah, I don't know where all that's falling, but there's just a lot of new teams out there. Does that matter at all that there's so many different teams changing? I guess that happens every year in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series or the Truck Series, right? Is that concerning or is that exciting that there are more teams? Excited? Y'all pumped about that, especially with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series?
I think changes, they happen every year, especially with owner point transfers.
Yep.
So, yeah. I mean, because like SVG or Trackhouse is having a transfer to the 99 this year.
Yeah.
So
the 99 is basically becoming what the 87 was. And they're cycling the numbers around. The 99 points are becoming the 88 points.
SVG's running this year is the 99.
Yeah. So let's get on that. So SVG, the car number 99 is going to the owner points are becoming the 88 Zilich. The 88, which was SVG before, is his team is just renumbering to number 97. And then the 87 that Zilich run a couple of races last year, they're renumbering that in 99. So there's no more 87. They're holding on to the 99, I guess, to be like the Project 91 car, if you will. And then, yeah, so that's not a big deal. Also, just a note, too, that the 51 and the 60 are charters that are owned by by Rick Ware Racing. And then Rick Ware leases out a charter to make the 60 of Ryan Preece. But you can't lease out the same charter in consecutive years. You have to rotate them. So the 51 and the 60 have flip-flopped. And now, technically, going into Daytona, Cody Ware has Ryan Preece's owner's points. So if there was a rain out or something like that. Also, here's what's interesting, too, is Trackhouse is holding on to the 99, but who is going to run the number 99 in Daytona? Corey LaJoie for RFK Racing. So they're going to be like 299s. And then, we've seen that before where 2311s run the 50 and then shared it with Team Amerivet Racing. But it'll be number 199 for Corey LaJoie.
When's the last time we got a triple-digit car in a Cup race?
It won't be a 1 on the car. It's just on the entry blank because you're not going to have two 99s in the same race.
But, I mean, what happens if you do?
Well, then one of them will be 199, or they would make them change the number. I mean, yeah, or you put a 99 and an initial after it. On the short tracks, you have all sorts of double numbers show up, and so they'll just be like, hey, Chase Elliott's the number 9C, or something like that. That's what they would do. But yeah, just interesting stuff. Go to jski.com. You can just look at where the article about owners' points changes. By the way, 30 years of J-Ski being celebrated this year. They've got that live reel up on the site there. That used to be the place to go. Place to go for your motorsport stuff. What's that, Dan?
Dan's reaction there to that.
30 years of J-Ski. Yeah, you remember when it was new.
30 years, yeah. I remember when it was new.
Truck Series, there's an Alfarano Motorsports, number 03 entered, and I remember Mike Alfarano because he had a spectacular crash at Talladega over 10 years ago. And that's the only time I really remember his name much. He's just entered a few ARCA races, but I guess he's going to take a stab at trucks. And most of the Colleague cars, for all the talk about that manufacturer rule, most of the Colleague cars have owner's points. All right? So the 10 Colleague truck, the Ram, is going to have Young's Motorsports. So basically, Young's Motorsports transferred both of its owner's points to Colleague. And then Colleague also bought one of the Spire owner points, number 77, and one of the McAnally Hilgeman owners' points because they wanted number 16, so they got the 16 now. And then McAnally Hilgeman is just going to have a number 20 to replace the 16, basically. So, some interesting stuff there, I guess. If y'all don't look too interested, I thought it was interesting.
Can you do some kind of program where I can keep up with this and send me a copy of it?
jski.com.
jski.com.
Respond right here. Dan, you sound like Ed Hollingsworth.
This is where being a fan is so difficult because you can't keep up with all the stuff that it's impossible. And the different platforms that this stuff is on, you have to literally go to each platform or find a common denominator out of that where you can go to and get all of this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think the NASCAR media does a great job because a lot of us just run on, like we're reading off of J-Ski right now or go to Bob Pockers's deal. You know, it's not like the NFL where everybody's reporting on all this stuff over and over again. The NASCAR media has become a real small core, and it's hard to get just straight information. That's true, and I'm guilty of it. You know, I don't get paid to do it, so guess what? I'm going to go do the fun stuff like this and talk about it, not write about rain delay procedures and wet tires and owners' points transfers. You know, I just don't. I mean, no one pays me to do it, and frankly, it doesn't get a lot of clicks. Also in the trucks too. You know, Ty Majeski said Matt Crafton retired. Ty Majeski will move from the 98 truck to the 88. Jake Garcia from the 13 to the 98. And keep in mind, Ty Majeski won a title with the number 98, but yet because the 88's the iconic truck, they're moving him to that. I just think that's like the 98's his number. I feel like, and then the 13. I guess they haven't announced who's going to be running for them yet. I don't know if that's a list of drivers or what, but anyway, a lot's going on. We'll follow it all right here. Lastly, just real quick, Cookout Clash this weekend, Bowman Gray Stadium. Heat races Saturday night, main event Sunday night, all of it threatened by snow. What do you think, guys? Dan, if they were able to clear the track off but still race a precipitation, don't you think that they would be more likely to run if it were just snowing ish outside? Like forget the fan part of it, of getting fans to the track, which I know that they won't want to run in front of empty seats. But remember, they had to move up the Clash a couple of years ago with the floods in LA. So I think that they're going to try to get this race in if it's the visibility's okay. Visibility delayed the Rolex 24 6 hours. They had a 6-hour caution overnight Saturday into Sunday. And that race that was won by Penske in the Top Class again. I need to mention that. And Speedfest, by the way, also rained out this weekend from all the wintry stuff. But, Dan, do you think Cookout Clash, if the visibility's right, even if there's a foot of snow outside the track, that they could still run it?
If there's a narrow window of opportunity, I think they'll try to run it because this is not a points race. This is exhibition. And I think this is just going to add, to me, it just adds to the drama of this.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, it's a lot of that cut out there. I know it'll get recorded, and you fans will hear that too. But it looks like Dan was kind of nodding his head in affirmation there. Dev, would you be opposed to that? To see, see him out there running in snow flurries or something like that?
Put the snow tires on, and we can create a viral social moment. And you could all see now the cars racing in the snow. Wait, isn't it if we get the track temps high enough that the snow wouldn't even stick to the surface?
Sure. I mean, if the cars are running on the track, that's going to put a ton of heat into the track. It's just a matter of visibility, right? Visibility and I guess logistics too. Dan lost some signal there. We'll see if he dials back in. But I feel like visibility and logistics, if we could work that out, if ever – the deal, if all the cars are there, they're teching them at Charlotte because there's not a big enough space in the Bowman Gray area in Winston-Salem to do all the technical inspections. They're teching them in Charlotte, driving up the road. You're already there. The only issue is the fans. I get it, and I'm sympathetic to that. But if you could still have a TV event, go for it. I feel like. I hope they get that off on time. I'm itching for some NASCAR racing there. So we talked about the Clash. We went in depth on just the generational dynamics and the changes in the sport. We bid, I'm going to put it right here, okay? We bid the biggest RIP to the ROVAL that anybody is, because everybody else is going to be excited, or many others, not everybody else, many others will be excited. Yay, we're going to the Oval, baby! But I feel like we relived our less than a decade history of the ROVAL quite well here on the 5 to Go podcast. That's what we do. We take a deep dive on
for the ROVAL today.
Pour some bottled water out for the ROVAL, maybe a Busch Light and Johnny's Bar.
Grab the beer cans above your head and we'll pour one out.
Hey,
wait, hold on.
They're already empty.
let me get my this one's poured out already. My commemorative big boy, big top Budweiser can from several years ago.
I got an empty can back there I can grab. We'll all pour one out.
I just snorted dust when I did that. Yikes.
I need my champagne bottle from Daytona.
There you go. All right, so let's wrap this thing up here. Final thoughts from you, Dan?
My final thoughts are keep one important thing in mind as we talked about all of the Earnhardt Sr. Moments, the things that are coming with the new drivers and what we're looking for, mainly the difference in F1 and N1 NASCAR and where we're at. Keep in mind that this is entertainment, and this I think is key element to this in attracting the younger fans, Devin, and your demographic. I think this is key to that, and I think if somebody were going to ask me, if somebody asked me what I would do to do this, I would say get a camera crew and follow the driver around and let's stream his life, much like if you remember this with I think it was Jim Carrey with the Truman Show.
The Truman Show.
Yeah, and basically that's what we're looking at is your life, and it's put out there, and if you are any charismatic, then this is going to do well.
Hey, there was NASCAR Drivers 360 over 20 years ago.
Yep.
On cable. I mean, it wasn't every moment, but it was a lot of them. And there's been no talk of that Netflix series. I haven't heard one word about NASCAR Full Throttle. I don't think it happened this year. I guess not. I don't know. Nobody said a word about it. So, okay. Yeah.
Maybe it's time for NASCAR to do it in-house.
What's that?
Maybe it's time for NASCAR to do it in-house.
Yeah, but Netflix was Netflix was the thing people have.
The first show I'd like to see would be the France show.
See, I think the first one I'd like to see is Denny Hamlin After Dark. I think there's a lot of skeletons there. I don't think he'd allow the cameras with him. Denny Hamlin After Dark. Respond right here. Denny Hamlin After Dark. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, Denny Hamlin won't watch this episode. It'll be fine. By the way, I shouldn't say this, but there is a Reddit thread. I mentioned it to you guys off. There's I don't like gossip. I don't. I think it's a sin. I don't think it's good. But there's one called NASCAR Wag T. Wives and girlfriends wag. NASCAR Wag T. And I learned some stuff in there, buddy. So this is going to get talked about in the media side, and we're not going to hear but some people splitting up and some things going on, man. So, and then there's rumors and stuff that aren't necessarily true. But yeah, if you're into all that reality stuff, maybe not reality. I don't know. That's where it is. Dev, final thoughts.
It looks like Dan maybe went and logged off and go to check out.
I think
NASCAR
he did. Yeah, Dan, don't share your screen, brother. Don't share your screen, brother.
But anyways, it's kind of ironic that we didn't have any rainouts at the end of last year. I think since Indianapolis, and the first weather event's going to be the first race event, and it's snow. Can't make that up.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. So let me pull up the Clash race page too, just in case everything happens on time. Saturday's heat races they don't start until 8:30 at night on so get this, Big Fox, like Channel 5 in Atlanta. Okay, oh no, people from 11 Alive heard me say that. Big Fox has the heat races on Saturday night. FS1 has the main event Sunday. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Erase that. I'm sorry. I read that the wrong way. FS1 has practice and qualifying Saturday, if they happen on time, 6:10 Eastern. Heat races at 8:30 Eastern. The last chance race is Sunday at 6 p.m. And on Big Fox. And then Big Fox has the green flag for the main event at Bowman Gray at 8 p.m. Sunday. Okay? So basically 6:10 and 8:30 Saturday night, and then Sunday, 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., Big Fox main event. So the last chance race, that'll be a hooligan race. That'll be big. Hey, my final thought sticks with the reality stuff. Go to YouTube and just type in Ram Race for the Seat. They've got the first couple episodes up by now. By the time y'all hear this, probably 3 episodes up of the 15 or so drivers competing to drive the number 14, I believe it is, the number 14 Ram Colleague Racing entry in the Truck Series. And they're having an assortment of legend cars, late model, road course, go-kart races, and already some, they've had drama. They're all living in a big house together that's all decked out in Ram livery. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of money that Rams put into this. So that, to me, shows the commitment they have for the sport. It's a little hokey. I will admit it's a little hokey. There's a lot of big talk in that show that's kind of, to me, talks down to you. But it's really interesting. They have a points format amongst the drivers. Groups, instead of A, B, C, they're R, A, and M, for the fast, the middle, and the slow. It's really cool. So they've come up with something different for reality shows. Instead of just following drivers around and asking them how they feel, they are racing each other and racing for money within the show. Some of the drivers you've heard of, maybe, and a lot of them you have not. So check it out, Ram Race for the Seat. It's on YouTube. No one paid me to say that. I just think it's worth your time if you're a race fan. We'll keep 5 to go going here. I know we missed an episode there around the holidays, but we are geared up for the season. Devin and I at least will be at Echo Park Speedway. I'll be at COTA right after that. So it's coming. It's here, folks. Let us know what you think. Follow us on all the platforms. Write to us in the Facebook group. Find Devin and me on social media. And you know what? Look up Dan and call him up in the Dawsonville Speed Shop. He'd be glad to talk to you, all right? Or he'll meet you at the McDonald's there in Dawsonville if the roads aren't iced over. For Dan and Devin, I'm Doug. Thank you for listening to the 5 to Go podcast, and we'll catch you right here next week and tell you about that clash.